Well, here we are, a tiny little audience representing perhaps one of the most important ideas in our society today, and that is freedom of expression. Because while there are many other human rights, without freedom of expression, you can't talk about them. And the best way of illustrating how far we have to go is to really tell you two very simple stories. I got into this because I was a book publisher, and I was invited by the Soviet Union to talk about copyright. And when we got them to commit to copyright, they asked me to publish books. And I was fortunate enough to meet Andrei Sakharov, who, as you know, was instrumental in getting the hydrogen bomb for the Soviet Union, and then left the Soviet society because of his belief in human rights. And I discovered then, as a book publisher, the importance of freedom of expression. And in 1968, Andrei Sakharov, in his book Progress and Intellectual Freedom, said the following words: "Intellectual freedom is essential to human society. Freedom to obtain and distribute information, freedom for open-minded and unfearing debate, and freedom from pressure by officialdom and prejudices. Such a trinity of freedom of thought is the only guarantee against an infection of people by mass myths, which in the hands of treacherous hypocrites and demagogues can be transformed into bloody dictatorship. Freedom of thought is the only guarantee of the feasibility of a scientific, democratic approach to politics, economy, and culture. But freedom in thought is under a triple threat in modern society. From the opium of mass culture, from cowardly, egotistic dogmatism of a bureaucratic oligarchy, and its favorite weapon, ideological censorship. Therefore, freedom of thought requires the defense of all thinking and honest people." Now, that was written in 1968, and here we are today with the same problem. And that brings me to another man who I met for the first time in 1994 in China, and that is Wei Jingshang. Wei Jingshang, like so many others, like Zhu Wenli, like Harry Wu, like all the other great names, served terrible terms in prison just for an idea, not for committing any crime, just for expressing their thoughts. And I remember when he arrived in the United States, and we went out to Detroit to greet him. And I remember I went with Chao Chang, who was Sharon Hum's predecessor at Human Rights in China. And I remember that his hotel room in Detroit was entered, and all of his papers were taken the first night. The hotel was very embarrassed. I only tell you this to show you that the fight against freedom of expression is a strong fight. And the fact that Wei Jingshang and Harry Wu, Zhu Wenli, and the others are still in the United States and not back in China reveals that the fight is still going on. And that's why this little book fair is so important in what it stands for. When I think back, the first thing that happened to me as president and chairman of a large publishing house, Random House, is that I was barred from going to the book fair in Russia and Soviet Union at that time. So this little affair today has an importance much bigger than is being recognized. Thank you.